Good evening, good folks, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission General Session for this Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. Before we get started with our meeting, I want to share information about different opportunities to give public comment. At the beginning of the meeting, we have 3 public hearings, each of which is an opportunity for folks to weigh in on those particular items. We will accept in-person comment as well as by phone. We also have public comment on agenda items, so that'll be subsequent to the public hearings. That's an opportunity for folks to give input on specific agenda items. Then we have a general public comment at the end of the meeting. It's an opportunity for folks to share whatever they wish with the City Commission. During public comment time, it's an opportunity to give input directly, not Q&A, back and forth, dialogue. We can arrange that at a separate time if that is desired. Everyone has 3 minutes to give remarks. If you are giving remarks in person, I encourage you to complete the public comment form at the back of the room. It's at that table. Please provide your name and home address. Note I will not be sharing your home address nor asking you to announce it. That's for our records. I will be acknowledging which neighborhood you may be joining us from if you're a City of Muskegon resident, and if not a resident of the city, which other township, village, or city you're joining us from. Everyone has 3 minutes, whether they're giving comments in person or by phone. I'm going to share that phone number right now, just to have it ready, but please do not call just yet. The number is 231-724-6721. When we get to phone and comments, the phone number will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen at that time as well. We are going to start the meeting with prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to be led in prayer by Pastor Jeremy Leonards from First Wesleyan Church. If you wish to join us in either of those activities, I ask that you stand if you're so capable of doing so.
Mr. Mayor, commissioners, and fellow citizens, if it's your practice, I'd invite you to pray along with me. Your wise and loving Father, thank you for gathering us here today, for the countless blessings that you pour out, life, health, community, purpose, and the privilege of serving one another. Thank you for meaningful work, for responsibilities that shape the well-being of our neighbors, and above all, we have, through your Son, Jesus Christ, hope never-ending. Your grace is abundant, your love never fails. Lord, in community, our perspectives are diverse, and tensions can run high. We ask for your steadying hand. Remind us that true leadership is an act of service, and that every person in this room bears your image and is worthy of dignity, honor, and respect. Help us see one another not as rivals, but as partners, seeking the common good. Lord, we pray for our mayor and for each city official and for this council. Graciously grant them wisdom and discernment and courage, humility, ability to work together, personal peace and resilience. Father, bless this agenda set before them here today. Guide their conversations in clarity, honesty, and mutual respect. May the decisions made here bring strength, hope, and well-being to all who live and work in our great city of Muskegon. We boldly ask that you would lead to help unity prevail, not the unity that demands uniformity, but the unity that flows from shared purpose, shared humanity, and your steadfast love. We entrust this meeting to you, and we ask all these things in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. May we have roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Keener.
Here.
Commissioner German.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Cochin.
Here.
Commissioner St. Clair.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Kilgo.
Present.
Thank you. First up, we have a public hearing on Sappy PUD parcel acquisitions, 2400 and 2850 Lakeshore Drive. City Manager,
Yes.
reporting out on this.
I am. So this is a continuation of the discussion that we had in work session earlier this month about those parcels on the Sappy property that we have a first rate of refusal on through the end of 2027. I do want to note in the memo I accidentally wrote that it closed on December 18th, 2026. It closed December 18th, 2025. Obviously, we have not had that date yet. So it's 2 years from that date is when the first right of refusal expires. The price per parcel was negotiated out as part of the PUD at 148,750, and as is noted, that is a 15% reduction off the average sale price, which actually could increase in the future depending on how things go out there, which will go very well. So the estimated total that we're asking for from the Michigan DNR would be 1.1 million with a 4.7 $474,200 match from the city, which would we would project coming from the Public Improvement Fund 445, and we would shift some money in there over the next this fiscal year, next fiscal year to make that work. So this is a public hearing on this project. The commission's had a pretty good discussion on it earlier this month. So just wanted to tee it up for anyone else who had comments.
All right. This is a public hearing, so we're going to open up to the audience. If there's anyone that wishes to give their input, specifically with regard to the city pursuing a MDNR Natural Resources Trust Fund acquisition grant for those parcels at the SAPI site. Seeing no one in the audience, we are going to go to the phones. The phone number is 231-724-6721. This is a specifically public hearing with regard to a potential acquisition of up to 10 parcels at the SAPI site, utilizing MDNR Natural Resources Trust Fund monies. Doesn't sound like we have any takers. All right. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion.
Move to close the public hearing and authorize staff to apply for the MDNR Natural Resources Trust Fund acquisition grant in the amount of $1,106,300 with a match commitment of $474,200 for the acquisition of 10 parcels on the former SAPI PUD, subject to final appraisal due in October.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. Commissioner St. Clair, do you have anything you wish to ask or add at this time?
We discussed this pretty thoroughly at the work session. I feel like I have a good understanding of the request, and I am in support of it.
Thank you. Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes, I was not at that work session, but I have had conversations with staff, with the manager about this, so I'm pretty familiar with it. Also, with my background in real estate, looking at other parcels, lakefront, it may look expensive, but it's actually under retail value of what we would be getting the parcels for. Not to mention, there's not a lot of Muskegon lakefront property for sale on the market, and I feel like the city, if we are able to acquire this property, we're a part of what they're doing at the old SAPI site, and the city can be a part of it and have a park down there that's right on the lake shore and kind of intertwine with the growth that we're going to see down in this area through all three phases as they turn what has been vacant and blight for years and years and years into something beautiful. So I'm looking forward to seeing construction and everything start down there, with conversations with our environmental folks and Eagle and staff. I'm pretty comfortable with us moving forward and trying to acquire the property.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Anything else to ask or add, Commissioners? Commissioner Cochin?
Yes, thank you. During that work session, I know that we had discussed kind of at length the concerns for the maintenance of the property and the costs that the city would have to incur of that maintenance. Did we have a conversation with the developer? Because I know we had kind of floated like would the maintenance be able to be covered by some of their maintenance team to help defer some of those costs? Did we have that discussion?
So we have had discussions about essentially what it would be is there's an HOA that's going to be on that site. They would already have folks who would be taking care of lawn maintenance, and that we would essentially pay a portion of HOA dues as opposed to having staff do that. So yeah.
Can you elaborate again what the portion of the HOA dues would be for us?
I don't know that.
You don't know that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't. That has not been established on what their HOA dues will be there, but they're going to have park maintenance going on there in their own park areas, and it would be less expensive than for us to have staff there. Plus the frequency of the rotation would be more lined up, and I think that the neighbors who live in that area, in the HOA itself, it would be an easier maintenance operation if it was all being done at the same time, which we wouldn't be able to guarantee through our coordination of our
Yeah.
folks.
That was one of my other concerns as well, so I appreciate you addressing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Gochin. Anything else, commissioners? No? Do have a question, Mr. Manager. Given that we're going to be going for appraisal, we're going to find out, state requires us to get 2 appraisals for that. And in the event that, let's say it appraises as we anticipate here, before the discount. Once we factor in the discount, do we then, that count as discounted land value, the count towards the matching grant? And that could potentially lessen the amount of actual dollars we need to kick in?
Well, the amount that we have in here is what's the agreed to amount with the developer.
Yeah,
So
no-
that's the agreed to amount that we're gonna.
Yeah, what I'm wondering is if the discount,
Yep.
because he's doing a 15% discount. So let's
Yep.
say it appraises that amount and it's 15% discount. We're going to still pay that
would we
amount,
get-
but that 15% count towards the matching grant. I guess we don't need to answer that right now.
Yeah,
but I think that there might be opportunity
Okay. To maybe.
to incorporate a discount land value as part of the
Okay.
match grant.
I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that question right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, we don't need to know the answer
Okay.
necessarily,
Yeah.
but right this moment. But I
So-
think that could be an opportunity to potentially
Sure.
reduce the actual outlay of dollars
Okay.
for this. Okay, thank you. Unless there's anything else, roll call, please.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keener.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next public hearing is for a request to create a new neighborhood enterprise zone district at 2400 Lakeshore Drive. Good evening and welcome. Kindly introduce yourself and please report out on this item.
Absolutely. Isabella Gonzalez, Development Analyst for the City of Muskegon. So, this is a public hearing for a NEZ district request for 2400 Lakeshore Drive, also known as that SAPI PUD parcel. This public hearing is held to consider the establishment of their NEZ district request. They intend to develop single-family owner-occupied units along 65.46 acres of the SAPI development. So inclusion in an NEZ district would allow eligible property owners in the future to apply for NEZ certificates, which reduce residential property taxes on newly constructed housing. This is all in accordance with our NEZ Act. Notice of the proposed district was mailed to all affected local taxing jurisdictions on February 12th, 2026. And then per state requirements, a public hearing must be held within 45 days of the notice being sent, and then the resolution establishing the district may not be adopted until at least 60 days. So this will return on April 14th, 2026. The state law allows up to 15% of a local government's total land area to be designated as NEZ district. And the city of Muskegon is currently at 13.34%. The addition of the proposed NEZ district would remain within the allowable statutory limit. We estimate that if approved, that the district's total area will fall under 14.1% of the city's total acreage. And we have the developers here to speak on its behalf.
Thank you, Analyst Gonzalez. Would the developer like to share anything before we open it up to anyone else wishing to give input as part of a public hearing?
Sure.
All right. Yes, please come to the podium and introduce yourself.
Good to see you all again. Thanks for hearing us, Mayor and Commissioners. And Isabella, that was a nice summary. Yeah, with this is one of those projects that because it's so large, it requires pre-planning to be almost like 50% of the construction timeline. So that's why you've been seeing us so much over the last couple of years. But this is the first time you've seen us since we actually closed. So it's exciting to be back in front of you. This project is much like Shaw Walker in that scenario, in the sense that we have to do so much pre-planning. This is also one of those complicated projects that needs as many tools in the toolbox as are available. And the main tool that the city can provide is this NEZ district to help with the marketability in a marketplace where interest rates have doubled in the last 6 to 7 years and construction costs have gone up 50% in the last 10 years, to essentially equate to almost 300% of cost when you look at the carry of a piece of property that's purchased by somebody, especially when they have to build a new home. And this abatement for property tax still leaves them paying a lot of property tax. They still have to pay 50%. And, you know, when you do the math and you do the numbers on the first phase only, there's 208 lots. And the velocity of these being sold fast is going to be great for the city in terms of property tax income. But let's not forget that each one of these families will pay city income tax to the city, and that's your biggest line item of revenue in your budget. And you're going to capture all of that. And the typical household has 2 income earners. So you know, you could have 400 people paying additional income tax. We need them to sell, and we are excited to do this project. And this is just one of those ways to help move it forward. So we're here for questions. If there's any technical questions, we did ask our attorney who handles anything and everything to do with neighborhood enterprise zone, who you're very familiar with, Jared Belka. He's to my right in the blue suit. You could probably guess who he was. So,
Thank you,
thanks.
Mr. Rooks. Don't go anywhere in case there are any questions before we go to invite public comment for this hearing. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Rooks at this time? No? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to give input specifically with regard to the request to create a neighborhood enterprise zone district at 2400 Lakeshore Drive? Seeing no takers in the audience, we're going to go to the phones. The phone number is 231-724-6721. When you're calling in, please turn down any audio in the background, state your name, and if you're a City of Muskegon resident, which neighborhood you're calling from. All right, does not sound like we have any callers. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing for the NEZ district at 2400 Lakeshore Drive.
Move to close the public hearing for the NEZ district at 2400 Lakeshore Drive.
Support.
I've got a motion by Vice Mayor Keener, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. Unless there's any further discussion? Yes.
I actually do. I was thinking that we would still ask questions afterwards, so. I do have a question for the developer, and maybe potentially his legal counsel, if they're available.
You want to pose your question and we'll
Okay,
figure
yeah.
out who needs to come up to answer it?
So my question is in regards to kind of just an update for the general public. I know that last time you presented to us, there were additional testing that was done on site for environmental reasons. I know it's a big concern of my constituents in that area. So we would just like to hear kind of an update of where that's sitting, and then potentially from Analyst Gonzalez, what exactly is the thought process behind such a large space using up the NEZ? I know that Director Ekholm had previously spoken with one of the other commissioners about how it's beneficial, but I think people would like to hear why, because it's such a big area, it is going to take up a lot of NEZ slots, and so I want to hear what that, is, basically.
Okay. Let's take Anis Gonzalez or Director Ekholm, whomever wishes best to answer that question. But and then we'll consider the rest.
Absolutely. So, we were actually presented this request from the developer just to see what tax event incentives they were able to qualify for. And after some discussion, they ended up choosing to parcel off the single-family homes along the shoreline to eventually give those future property owners a tax incentive. So that's what I can speak on.
I'm going to pose a follow-up question before we go on. Anis Gonzalez, to add some context, it's my understanding that initially there was a consideration of doing the entire site for NEZ, but that after consultation with staff, that was scaled back to just select properties to minimize how many of the NEZ slots, as Commissioner Coachman was just speaking on, would end up being locked in.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. So that entire parcel would have far exceeded our NEZ district acreage, and that's why they were able to scale it down.
Thank you. And you prepared to, Mr. Rooks or your team, are you prepared to address the environmental questions at this time?
Well,
And note
there's-
too that the actual creation of the NEZ district will be coming later. We're not creating the district today, it's just a public hearing, so we'll have additional opportunity to get answers or ask questions. So anything you're not able to share now, we welcome, at that next meeting when we actually consider approving the NEZ district. But please proceed, Mr. Rooks.
Sure, thank you. And just to dovetail into Ms. Gonzalez's summary, the property, yes, we restricted it to the properties that would qualify for NEZ benefits. It didn't make sense for us to present the entire 123 acres because that would have used up more of your percentage, and it wouldn't have really done anything for us because unless you have retail in the bottom, and some of these later buildings won't have retail in them, they won't qualify for NEZ. And so if that gets reconsidered, and if there's room in your NEZ districts at the time, we would reevaluate and come back. But at this point, we came here with the bare minimum. And then to answer your environmental question, yeah, we've got Buyer Engineering continues to be our consultant and will continue to be our consultant throughout the entire project. And we have meetings with Eagle on site or on, Teams calls once a month. We keep them apprised of all our planning. There's certain parts that get approval, up front, like we have already received. And then there's certain parts that get approvals as we turn in the necessary information. So it's an ongoing process, and it will continue to be an ongoing process throughout the entire development period. And, it's the same thing as an example with Shaw Walker. We have to follow all the guidelines. It's called due care obligations, and then there's a response activity plan, and it's expensive, but we have grant money that's helping us out, and it's going well. So that answers that part. And then Jared can address the other part of the question that was non-environmental, if that's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Rooks. Will you kindly introduce yourself, sir?
Jared Belka with Warner Norcross, here with the development team. Good to see everyone.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Just wanted to add to Ms. Gonzalez's summary on the NEZ. We did meet with staff. That was raised as a concern initially on. We actually have some thoughts going forward, how some of this could be changed up in the future to kind of bring that percentage back down and allow for future development. Some of it, given the last time that the districts were amended, there's a timeline limitation within the act that says you kind of have to wait, but there are different types of districts that can be established too. So we did meet with staff and kind of talk through how that can be addressed going forward to increase, or I should say decrease that percentage as you move forward and have other opportunities come forth. But we did pare it down to just what would qualify for the NEZ. And this would be just, and I know it's not until the April meeting for consideration for establishment, but this is just establishing the district. Applications would still have to come back in front of City Commission for consideration for approval. And as John had mentioned, the currently new construction non-homestead would not qualify for this without retail. So obviously not knowing who's going to be acquiring this. Just want to make it clear. I know there could be the perception that a second homeowner might take advantage of this abatement, but that's not allowed under the act currently. So.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Belka. Any follow-up? Commissioner Keener, then Commissioner Kilgo. Sorry, Vice Mayor Keener, then Commissioner Kilgo.
What is the average price for the homes that are going to be built? That's the first question.
So that depends on the buyers of the lots, but the lots will range from 150,000 to 299,000, depending on what they build on top of it. It will determine that final investment. But we would expect it would be similar values that you've seen at Terrace Point Landing, which is next to the lake house. And
Which is about what?
those homes range from 450,000 to 900,000 in value. And that's the waterfront. And then I should say that there's the other part of this property description has units that now in today's market are considered affordable, that are condominiums in buildings that have 10 units, and they are for sale condominiums that would be about 10 units to 12 units per building, and they would range in price for a small one for 250,000 to probably 450,000. But that's had less research and has had less comparable product on the market than what we did at Terrace Point Landing, because we just did Terrace Point Landing a few years ago. So I hope that answers your question.
It does answer my question slightly. So I don't have any questions. You can feel free to sit, but I do have comment. Because an NEZ, and with my understanding, is for distressed populations and for individuals that really need that extra little help and support. And I just personally feel, I'm not counting nobody's pockets or dollars, but it just would seem like if someone could afford a home on the lake, why would we offer an NEZ if you have that kind of budget to do so? But that's just my personal comment. But thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Keener. And perhaps we can have a staff member address that with regard to the utility of the NEZ. But first, I'd like to, Mr. Manager, you want to answer that right now?
That the way the act is structured, it's not specifically for folks who are of any specific economic situation. It's a tool that municipalities have at their disposal to incentivize development or to help with redevelopment. So those are the standards that are in place. It's not a specific to one economic rung or another.
So if this comes to us on agenda again, well, it will come to agenda again, then we would be looking at creating a new NEZ in this area. Is that what we're doing here?
We're expanding the NEZ into this area, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And when you, there's a attachment in the packet that has a map of the NEZs
I'm
right
looking
now.
at- I'm looking at that now.
Like the blue
Yeah.
and the orange. And so the NEZ district is broken up into kind of two areas that talks about the redevelopment area and the new construction area. This would be a new construction area, which I think is orange in that.
Yep.
In that map. So yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
yep.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Come back to you, Commissioner German. First got Commissioner Kilgo over there.
Thank you. I do have a question for staff. If this NEZ district is created and some of the properties that are built are going to be single family, some of the properties that are built are going to be multi-units and a condo unit. For anyone that qualifies for homestead, like, hey, this is my full-time house, that let's say are in the condo unit, that will or won't affect the percentage once the district is created. Do you understand my question?
Yes, I believe so. So with condo units, they are owner occupied. They would fall under new construction, and those would attribute to, I guess, the NEZ district percentage, and then overall receive an NEZ district or NEZ certificate.
So I guess my question, if by creating this, we go from 13.34% to 14.1%, and our cap is 15%,
Yes.
we'll still have about a percentage to be able to create NEZ zones, hopefully in other parts of the city. And then in the future, also some will age out of their NEZ so we can create more NEZ zones in different parts of the city. But I guess my question is, if an overwhelming number of the condo units were to apply for NEZ, does that move that 14.1 percentage number?
That would not, because it is already included in this NEZ district.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I was trying to figure out.
Perfect. Okay.
And then I also, I guess, have a comment. Some of these parcels that are on the lake, they're gonna be $1 million homes. These houses are being built regardless of if they get an NEZ zone or not. I don't think the NEZs really help the developers. This isn't giving extra money to the developers. The NEZ is for whoever buys the property. If they're gonna have it as their full-time home and live there, taxes are expensive. Taxes are more expensive on more expensive houses. We need to be attracting wealthy people to Muskegon also. So if we create the zone, we'll still have room to put zones in other parts of the city, and in the future, create new NEZ zones. I think it's going to be really attractive to wealthier people who want to move to Muskegon and live near Muskegon Lake at this new development if we do create the zone, because it's an incentive to come and live in the city limits of Muskegon instead of North Muskegon, Norton Shores, so on and so forth, right? Some of our wonderful neighbors, love all of you neighbors, but we want to attract those people to the city of Muskegon also, because guess what? They're going to spend their money in the city of Muskegon, and they're going to pay taxes in the city of Muskegon. So I definitely do understand, like, the NEZ zones can really help entry-level homes that we're building. In our next one on the agenda, those prices are some of the lowest price point new construction houses in the city of Muskegon. And it's great for us to have those, but I think it'll be a good idea for us to incentivize higher end homes too, because we want some of those people to move into the city limits of Muskegon also. So we'll see how this goes when it comes before us again.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Commissioner German?
Oh, yes, thank you, Mayor Johnson. Quick question. Parkland Property Development occupies how much of the NEC acreage in their development? Can you tell me?
Oh, with the Shaw Walker project?
Shaw Walker, Terrace Point, Sappy, all of that. Just an estimated number.
Without knowing the acreage of all of those parcels, I wouldn't be able to confidently give you a number. Out of all the acreage total, there's 9,400 acres in the city of Muskegon, so 15% of that is only touched if it's several hundred acres total.
Yes. And I heard Mr. Rooks mention some of the price points for those properties at Terrace Point. I believe I was on the commission when we first allowed those NEC certificates. Was that his project that we did the first NEC certifications for? Okay.
I guess in 2013.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure. We've seen excellent results. The price points that he mentioned, 300,000, 400,000, maybe to 900,000 on some of them homes. Now, those NEC certificates were about, what, 10 years, 12 years?
Those ones were, I believe, all applied for 15 years.
Oh, 15, okay. Now, question.
Actually, correction, 12.
It is 12,
Yes,
okay.
you are correct.
Yeah. Now, as for the stipulations, just say, for instance, someone buys a property at Sappy, condo or, beautiful home on the lake with, the grass and looking at the lake out there and drinking coffee in the morning and you just enjoying life. And they decide to sell that property with under the NEC certifications years. Is that transferred to the next tenant or is that not?
Yes, they would be able to transfer within that certificate timeline.
Okay, but would it still equate to just the 12 years or would it exceed
It would be
that?
the remainder of the certificate.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner German.
Uh,
Yes, Vice Mayor Keener?
If staff could, at some point, I would like to know how much, how many of the NEZs that Parkland does own, as well as, and this is outside of Parkland, where other entities that have developers, if I could have that number of each developer that has gotten NEZs, I would really like to know that. That's nothing that has to be done immediately, but I would like to know that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Keener. Just one kind of caveat or clarification with regard to that is that the NEZ certificates are not issued for the developer or Parkland. These districts are created to support their development. So that number can be determined, like how much is the acreage for Terrace Point Landing, how much is the acreage for Shaw Walker, how much is the acreage at Sappy. But I just wanted to clarify that the certificates are not for the developer themselves, they're for the future homeowners who buy that. And I just also, Commissioner Kilgo mentioned that this doesn't help the developer. And in a sense, it helps it because it helps improve marketability and sales of the property, but it actually takes money out of their pocket because the NEZ reduces the amount that gets paid for property taxes, and because it's in a brownfield reimbursement, that there's less money being collected that they could then pay themselves back for the eligible expenses.
Oh, I understand that. I still
And so
want to know that.
there are fewer dollars potentially. In a way, this is undermining the dollars that could be generated to pay them back for the eligible expenses. So it's not a windfall for the developer. I just wanted to provide that clarification or additional information for everyone.
I totally understand that. I just still would like to know.
Oh, certainly. Thank you, Vice Mayor Keener. Any final thoughts before we go to roll call on closing this public hearing? This is going to be coming back in April for the actual creation of the district itself. All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Our next and final public hearing is with regard to the issuance of neighborhood enterprise zone certificates for 577 Amity Avenue and 723 Amity Avenue. Welcome back, Anis Gonzalez.
Absolutely, thank you very much. So Robert Musey Builders LLC has submitted 2 applications for neighborhood enterprise zone certificates for the construction of single-family homes at 577 and 723 Amity Avenue. 577 will feature 3 bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms, and 723 Amity will have 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom with the potential to add on an additional bedroom and bathroom. So the Neighborhood Enterprise Zone Act provides for the development and rehabilitation of residential housing located within eligibly distressed communities, and approval of these applications would grant the future property owners a tax abatement that reduces their property taxes by approximately 50% for up to 15 years. And we do have the developer to answer any questions.
Thank you, Anis Gonzalez. Sir, would you like to come up and introduce yourself and share some insights about this?
Good, Bob Musey, and we've been building a few of the smaller infill lots in Muskegon. It's been going fairly well for us, and so the NEZ has been helpful for us for financing for the end buyer, and so far so good.
Thank you, Mr. Musey. Before we open up to the audience, commissioners, do you have any particular questions for Mr. Musey? No? All right. Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there, you can be seated if you'd like, sir. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone that wishes to give input with regard to the issuance of neighborhood enterprise zone certificates for 577 Amity Avenue and 723 Amity Avenue, you are welcome to the podium now. Seeing no, is this specifically to this item? So we can't take questions, but if you have comments, we can take your comments. I do need you to come to the podium, introduce yourself. Introduce yourself, and please give input specifically regard to the NEZ
Pat Jones,
certificates.
just for point of clarification for myself, these districts are created because of socioeconomic, a lot of things are taken into racial, all those things come into line when you're building these houses, correct? To create these districts.
This is not, I'm sorry, this isn't a time for dialogue.
Well, I already know what it's yes.
It's input directly on the public hearing item.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to the phones. Phone number is 231-724-6721. This is an opportunity to give input specifically regards to the issuance of NEZ certificates for 577 and 723 Amity Avenue. Does not sound like we have any callers for this public hearing. Commissioners, I entertain a motion.
I move to close the public hearing and approve the neighborhood enterprise zone certificates for 15 years at 577 Amity Avenue and 723 Amity Avenue, and authorize the city clerk and mayor to sign the applications and resolutions.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Cochin, supported by Vice Mayor Keener. Anything to ask or share,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin?
Analyst Gonzalez, I'm wondering if you can elaborate a little bit more on the projected price of the homes and the lots in this NEZ zone? Maybe him.
The average price of the homes that we have that are going up would be $195. So I have one for sale over on Isabella, yet a new one, and I believe that one's at $191 right now. So somewhere between $190 and $200 is our projected price.
And can you elaborate on what the size of those homes are? Are they 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, single unit?
Yeah, most of them are bi-levels, which on the top level is about 980 square feet. There's 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and it also leaves room downstairs for 2 more bedrooms, a bath, and a rec room, which aren't finished in the original price. So actually, they have the potential to get to 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and just shy of 2,000 square feet. So we finished the basements for an additional 40-some thousand. So for 230, you could be close to 2,000 square feet finished in the house.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Musi. Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Vice Mayor Keener, as the support of the motion, do you have anything to share or ask at this time?
No, these are NECs I would love to see to build up those communities right there. So
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
very happy with this NEC.
Commissioner German?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. To the developer, if you can come back to the podium, please, I appreciate it. Like musical chairs almost, you know. Get it.
Proud.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Question, these properties are actually in Ward 2, ward that I oversee as a commissioner. And I walk that area quite often, and I know exactly, where these properties are. I noticed, a lot of development going on. We have a neighborhood association also, the Angel Neighborhood Association. And when you build these properties, are you having communications, conversations with neighbors and also neighborhood associations? Yeah.
I can't say we have any conversations with associations, but the first thing I do before we get started is we introduce ourselves to the neighbors on each side. And I'm not so much, but in the summertime, there are a lot of people walking around, and I try to greet everybody I can who's close and in the neighborhood, because they tell us that our sales mostly can come from neighbors, so friends, family. So I can't say that we have much or have any involvement with neighborhood associations, but sure wouldn't be opposed to it. We have we're going to start some marketing programs You know, we're gonna probably do a little promotion at local churches, employers. So we're gonna start reaching out a little bit and educate people on what it takes to get the grants from the city, what is the NEZ about, why it's a good time to buy a new house now in the city of Muskegon.
Okay. Another question. When you purchased the property, was it surveyed?
Yes.
Okay, it was surveyed. So,
Yep.
because one of the issues that I have had, you know, with all this infill housing, these projects, you know, the encroachment on some of the other neighbors' properties. And that's been a huge concern. And I've had to talk with staff and to make sure that we have a clear understanding and make sure that, you know, the surveys and things are accurate. I just wanted to make sure those guidelines are being
Sure.
followed. So that's good to know.
And we generally have a surveyor come out and give us the four corners. We stake the house out, you know, on the lot, usually because they're kind of boxes. So doesn't take much to it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. I'm all set. Thank you. I just want to make a comment. I've continued to and will continue to be a proponent of homebuyer education and want to continue to support homebuyer education. At $190,000, someone could buy one of Mr. Musey's new construction homes, depending on how much they put down, for probably as low as $1,000 a month. People are charging rents way more than that. So I think that we need to continue to have new home ownership opportunities in that price point for folks. And I'm totally aware. I see some of my unhoused champions. I'm totally aware that we have other issues, but for those people who are in the working class and, you know, they don't think that they can buy a home, work with a local lender, work with a local agent, and see if you have an opportunity to get into one of these new construction homes, because nowhere else in West Michigan are they building new construction homes at that price point. And we have old rentals that are beat up from the feet up that people are charging $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month for. So thank you, Mr. Musey, for for coming to Muskegon and providing opportunities for affordable housing at that price point. And I hope that more people continue to seek out and find homebuyer education opportunities so they can see how they can own a home, because I think a lot more people can own a home than think that they can. But I would just encourage folks to talk to a professional to see how you could get that done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Any other questions or comments to share? All right. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you. That brings us to federal, state, county officials update. I don't think I've seen any of our partners in the room to share updates. So then we're going to move on to public comment on agenda items. I've not received any forms. Have you received any forms, Madam Clerk?
I have not.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to give comment on an agenda item or items this evening? We do still have general public comment at the end, but this is specifically to agenda items. All right. Seeing no takers in the audience, we are going to go to the phones. Phone number is 231-724-6721. When you're calling in, please turn down any audio in the background. State your name and which neighborhood you're calling from if you're a city resident, and if you're not a resident, where else you're calling from. All right, does not sound like we have any takers for phone and comments on agenda items. We move on. Commissioners, you have an opportunity to review the consent agenda. Are there any items that you wish to have removed for separate consideration and vote?
F and G.
Commissioner Kogo?
B as in boy.
Commissioner Cochin?
Item L.
All right. If there are no others, I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented, minus items B, F, G, and L.
So move.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner German, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. If there's no final thoughts, roll call, please.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item B, deficit elimination plan, brownfield redevelopment activities. Commissioner Kilgo.
Yes. I move to approve the deficit elimination plan and resolution for the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority combine and direct staff to submit the plan to the state of Michigan.
Support.
A motion by Commissioner Kilgo, supported by Commissioner Cochin. Good evening, sir. If you kindly introduce yourself and please report out on this item.
My name is Kenneth Grant. I'm the finance director. The reason why we have this in front of you is because during the audit, we have a lot of brownfields and they're combined. And so when we did our audit, we had an issue with one of the brownfields, especially Alley Point, because it was in the transition and we didn't know what to do with the tax disbursement. We held on to it. So when the state of Michigan saw our audit, they saw that we had payables on the books that we should have paid out. So we told the state of Michigan that we're going to pay them out we should have paid them out before the end of the last fiscal year, but we were in the transition because they were under receivership. So we did not want to disperse the money until we figured out where the money should go. So we have the money, we just have to pay it out to the right person, and we're waiting on to find out who to pay it to before we disperse it. So we want to definitely get it out of off our hands before the end of this fiscal year. So this is why we're doing this.
Thank you, Director Grant. Commissioner Kilgo, any follow-up?
Yes, thank you.
Or questions? Yeah.
So when I was reading over the deficit elimination plan, I just didn't understand it. But from what you just said, it sounds like we have to write the plan because it didn't get done, and there's certain entities like the one you mentioned or reasons why. But we have the money. We just need to know where it's has to go so everybody gets their money properly.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Commissioner Cochin?
I appreciate you explaining that because I also had that question as well. I guess the only question I would have is, do we have like a thought on a timeline of when we're going to be able to figure that out, who that money goes to?
Yes, we're working on that as we speak. The attorney is working on that tomorrow, probably.
Yes, we were able to have a productive conversation with the receiver last week. We have another larger conference call scheduled for tomorrow morning with the receiver. We don't believe it needs to go through the receiver, but given that these are some of the first interactions we're having with the receiver, we want to make sure that we're staying in consistent communication with the receiver to make sure that there's no surprises or that they're not surprised even if we're correct in who to disperse it to. So I would expect that after tomorrow's call, we'll have pretty good guidance to disperse that.
Okay, and just to follow up on that same train of thought, can you explain why you think it's not going to go to the receiver?
It's our understanding it wouldn't go to the receiver because the agreements that were in place between the developer and, in this instance, the Wisconsin Public Finance Authority, who entered into an agreement regarding the brownfield. They entered into an assignment of a brownfield payments in exchange for funding, and so it's not even necessarily going to directly to the Public Finance Authority. It's going to, the original agreement was with Huntington Bank. They sold off their trust arms. Now it's Argent. And so our conversation with the receiver is not to discuss whether or not it should go with to the receiver or not. It's to confirm with them that we will be making the payment to pursuant to the agreements that were already in place.
Okay, and to Argent, just to clarify.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Thank you, Counselor. Commissioners, anything else to ask or add at this time? All right. Roll call, please.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, mobile food vending ordinance update. Commissioner Keener.
I move to update Article 78, Mobile Food Vending Ordinance, Section 5304, regulations by adding subsection P as presented.
Support.
All right. A motion by Vice Mayor Keener, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. And our manager's reporting out on this.
So this is a follow-up from a discussion that we had at the December Legislative Policy Committee meeting regarding adding in an exception to the mobile food vending ordinance during events. So currently, during an event, mobile food vending can't exist within 1,000 feet of that event. This creates an exception where if a food vendor is on private property that has been improved to host mobile food vending, that's a summary of the changes, they would be allowed to operate during an event. They would not be subject to that 1,000-foot exclusion rule. There's some other criterion here. The property shall not be used as a commercial kitchen permitted for the preparation of food where such use constitutes more than 50% of the gross revenue. So what we're looking at here is that you wouldn't have a restaurant that would have another food vendor right outside of it during an event. Any water or electrical service utilized by the mobile food vendor shall be provided only through connections that have been installed for the use of mobile food vending in a lawful way. So when you look kind of at mobile food vending courts, oftentimes what you'll see is almost like pedestals that you would see in a campsite where they can, the mobile food vendor can come right in and hook up to water, power, one or other or both. There's also a requirement that within the 30 days immediately preceding the event that mobile food vending has been going on there for 10 or more days in that time period. And that's just to show that this is a constant or a more regular feature of the brick and mortar business and not just something that's a one-off to compete during the event. And that the vendor is there with the express permission of the property owner. So you can't just go park on someone's property. So those were the changes. This is consistent with the discussion that the commission had at the LPC meeting back in December, and is here for your discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Vice Mayor Keener.
I think Jonathan, city manager, excuse me, he explained it to me pretty well. I didn't really understand the change for number one. I just couldn't see that in my head, what it was saying, like the verbiage was not clicking for me. And so I understand it a little bit more. Can you give an example of why we're adding this to, like, say if it was Brad Dad's or something? Can you just give an example of what this would?
Well, so in that instance, it would be that business would have most likely, I don't actually know what the breakdown between alcohol and food is there, but they're primarily a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're looking at is that this would be an enhancement to a non-restaurant type brick and mortar business. So like if it's a retail store that chose to put in a connection for a food vendor because it enhances their business.
Okay.
And this is something that they would have on a regular basis, not just during events.
Okay, so like for
yeah.
example, like I take my food truck and I partner with one of the dispensaries.
Sure.
This is what this
Yeah.
is. This additive is. Okay.
Yeah.
If a dispenser, I think you were going to explain what I was just about to explain.
Yeah.
Or give context to.
No, and I think the additional context is this is only with respect to the 1,000-foot rule.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's not an event going on, any other rules that would otherwise apply are still there. But the 1,000-foot is for if there's an event being held during those moments in time. And it's designed in a way where for a business that has food trucks present, has the improvements as an ancillary piece of their business routinely, then they would be permitted to continue using that ancillary use.
Okay.
Because under normal circumstances, if there was a business that, was routinely within 1,000 feet of an event, there would be times where then they wouldn't be allowed to maintain those food trucks like they normally would have hosted.
Okay.
This doesn't have anything to do with any other times a food truck would be hosted if there's no event ongoing.
Okay. I just know I would get like probably 1,000 questions after this. So I just want to be clear when I converse.
Were you going to give the example? Because I was just going to give the example.
Go,
As to the impetus for why we're updating this ordinance is that there was a particular business downtown who had purpose-built area to provide accommodations for 2 food trucks. Being able to, they had dedicated space, water, infrastructure, utilities for those 2. But the way that the ordinance is currently prevents them from operating any food trucks, inviting any food trucks there, and the facility, it's the corner. There's already a collection of small businesses, and they want to support more small businesses, with food trucks. But anytime there was a special event within 1,000 feet, the current ordinance precluded them from being able to operate. And so basically, we're just updating this ordinance to say, hey, nope, you purpose-built area intended for the specific purpose of food trucks, and you're not going to be impeded by the 1,000 foot.
Okay, that makes sense because this was like looking like word soup to me.
Yeah, no.
I get it now.
And if I might want to add one more factor that will be paramount to all this is that it's on the private property. It's not like it's not a food truck parked on the street or something like that. So it's actually pulling up onto the property, and that they're there with the permission of the property owner. So
Okay.
yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor Keener. Anything else to ask or add, commissioners? No? All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, next item, G, street sweeping contract. Vice Mayor Keener.
I move to authorize the staff to enter into a 3-year agreement with Tri-Us Services, Inc. to provide street sweeping services in the amount of $450,000 and $450,645 per year for 2006, 2007, and 2008.
Support. All right, we have a motion by Vice Mayor Keener, supported by Commissioner German. Good evening, sir. Kindly introduce yourself and please report out on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Dan Vanderhyde, Director of Public Works for the city. Street sweeping is one of those things that we do that a lot of folks don't have a great understanding of why we do it. So I thought I would just take a chance to highlight that it's a really important part of our stormwater management system and our environmental protection efforts, preventing those items from entering our storm sewer and eventually our waterways. Is a really important part of being good corporate citizens, but also our obligations to MDOT, to Eagle, and to other various community partners. That being said, it is expensive, and so we bid it out every 3 years. The current contract has expired and is up for bid, so staff reissued our typical bid for these services. We did receive 2 bids, the same 2 companies that we received bids from in the previous contract. The 2 bids that we received, one is from a company called SCA of Michigan. It was the lowest bid. Staff expressed a little bit of concern with that bid. It actually is, the number on the screen there, $173,000 and change lower than their bid from 2023. And I'm not sure if you, like me, have experienced the price increases since 2003, but they've gone up, typically not down. That raised some questions for us. We wondered about that. So we called their references, and we heard from a couple of our trusted partner agencies that company has struggled a little bit to keep up with the things that they bid on. And so both of those partner agencies that we talked with that had hired SCA of Michigan have since terminated those contracts and gone back to Tri-Us, which is the second bid that we received, and the company that has been doing the city's street sweeping for quite some time. So, with all of that information as background, staff is recommending that we continue with Trias. It is fairly significant amount of money, more than SCA. There's a bid tab just a little bit further down in the packet, and you can see the details of those, but it is about $150,000 per year extra or in addition to go with Trias. However, staff feels quite confident that that is the right choice in order to keep receiving the service that we have. So I welcome any questions, comments, or concerns with that.
Thank you, Director Van Hood. Appreciate those insights and that explanation. Vice Mayor Keener?
I am so sorry. I'm hot flashing. Ooh. I'm so sorry. You explained everything to me. That was that was my question. I wanted to know what the discussions were, and so you answered everything for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner German.
Yeah, just first of all, thank you, Director Van der Heide, for bringing this to the commission. And then more of a comment because you addressed some of the issues and concerns. But, over the years, and just sitting on this commission, I have a great appreciation for the services that the city of Muskegon provides. Traveling around the country, just seeing other cities, and the hardship and the streets and some of the housing and roads, it's very depressing. And I could say the beautification that goes on here at in the city of Muskegon, and the image that we maintain to try to keep our city not only clean but safe, deserves a huge credit. So thank you, and we just want to make sure that people are, coming outside, they can be able to have, clean streets and, drains not overflowing due to rain and things like that. And if you look at it, you really appreciate it if you see some of the other cities and what they have to deal with and things like that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Commissioners, Commissioner Cochin, and then Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you very much, Director Vader Hyde, for breaking that down. I also was wondering, I was like, that seems like a no-brainer. Why would we not do that? My question is in the breakdown on page 168 of the packet. So it lists first sweep, second sweep, third sweep, and fourth sweep. And I'm wondering if you can kind of explain what that means, because one of the common complaints I hear from my constituents is we see the street sweepers once, maybe twice a year. So can you explain that a little bit more for me, please?
Yeah, sure, happy to. So one of the things, as that indicates, we sweep each street in town 4 times a year. One of the common misconceptions is that the street sweepers will come through, sweep the streets, and then disappear for a while, and then come back and sweep them again. In practice, what it means is a certain number, typically 2 or 3 street sweepers in Muskegon, are sweeping continuously throughout the season, and they get to each street 4 times. So the cost of those 4 sweeps is how we break down the contract, and that has a little bit to do with the fact that we sweep Apple Avenue and Shoreline Drive for MDOT, and how we can get reimbursed for those services. But effectively, we sweep each street in town 4 times a year. And we have, data and things that show that we do that. Whether the folks, happen to catch the truck or not, I can't comment. I will say that often what will happen, particularly on residential streets, is a vehicle will be parked on the curb, and the street sweeper will have to skip that block or skip a portion of that block until they can come back later, once those cars have moved or parked on the other side of the street, because the leaves that hide under the cars and things are really what they're trying to grab. Mm-hmm. So you may very well see a street sweeper, come partway down the block or skip a certain block, just depending on what it looks like to them. But they do mark down and have checklists and all that they get to everything 4 times a year.
Okay. And I know in my neighborhood, I see it right before the 4th of July, for sure, and usually like beginning of fall time, and then sometimes earlier in the springtime as well. Do we have like a specific timeline that they come on, or is it just kind of random per neighborhood?
Yeah, there are deadlines. So each of those sweeps does have a deadline associated with it. So they have to be complete with, the second time they've done everything by a certain date.
Okay.
And each one of those sweeps contains a date. Again, some of that being tied to our reimbursements through MDOT.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Goshen. Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. Can I borrow $151,000, brother? I asked that because $151,000 is a lot of money. I think that the city of Muskegon can use $151,000 for things that we need in this city. I'm one of those. I'm one of those people who thinks that we could have conversations. I get it. We called partners who've used SCA before. Their address on our paperwork's Ohio. When I was doing some research, they have services all over Michigan. They service parts of Detroit. They service Grand Rapids. They've acquired smaller street sweeping companies. So it sounds to me like SCA of Michigan is a big company. A big company like that probably doesn't want a bad name. So I think that we could go with SCA and then talk to SCA and then come back and say, we're going to give you a shot to save $151,000. I see lots of, I see areas in our city where we could use $151,000 and not overpay for the street sweeping company that we currently use. God bless them. I see them out all the time. I'm glad to see them. I definitely want to keep our streets clean. But if we can save $151,000 and still have a street sweeping company, I think that's the best route for the city of Muskegon to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Commissioner St. Clair.
Thank you. Can you explain what the potential negative outcome is if street sweeping doesn't happen as it is supposed to happen?
Sure. So the ultimate outcomes really are two broad categories. Our storm sewer system will take in additional sediment, leaves, garbage, things like that can contribute to clogs within the system and increased maintenance by city staff. So we have the large vacuum truck and the pressure washer truck, right, and all the things, the fun toys that we have. They might be pressed into more service in the storm sewer system to clean those areas, putting stresses on, staff resources, taking time away from doing those kinds of things in the sanitary system, etc. The other broad category would be those things then flowing through the storm sewer system to our waterways, creeks and various other drains and things, the bayous, and eventually Muskegon Lake. It's not to say you're going to immediately notice, piles of garbage along the shoreline, but the sediments, the oils and the greases that ride along with them, and the styrofoam containers, the pop bottles, and all of those things do eventually make their way there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what would you say it costs to replace a sewer main? Is it more than $151,000?
Depending on which one and where, yes. Usually, if we're talking about a block, more than $150,000.
Thank you, Commissioner St. Clair. Mr. Manager, you have something to add?
Director Vanderhyde, can you maybe give the commission some context on some of the feedback we got from the partner agencies that we talked to on why they switched back?
Sure. So I guess without revealing too much about them, they're the two nearest large county agencies. And the feedback that we got from them was just lack of equipment availability, lack of equipment quality, and inability to meet the deadlines in the contract. One pretty vivid example, we heard that they were requested to come out and sweep a certain neighborhood, and they showed up with a tractor with a broom on the front.
Did you say a
That can't be
broom
real.
on the
A
front?
tractor with a broom?
That is what we were told, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back in the case of that agency, and they returned to Trias.
Wow. So, okay. I was going to ask if maybe they were intentionally, undercutting it because they just wanted to establish the relationship with the city and then grow from there. But okay. Before I return to you, Commissioner Kilgo, Commissioner Cochin.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick question. I don't know if my mind's been changed by that or not, but if we were to say go with this other agency, and if we're in year one and they show up with a broom with a tractor on it, what would there be? Would there be a penalty if we decided to discontinue the contract?
Not a penalty in terms of anything that the city would owe SCA, at least not in the way that the contract is structured, as I understand it. A penalty in the sense that, let's just say we were going to go back and ask Trias to do it again, perhaps a penalty and increased cost from them, something like that. I'm not certain, but there could be penalties of that kind, increased costs for other services.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I guess to clarify, we have the opportunity to sign up with Trias, for this bid price right now. Whether that would be true, 6 months or a year from now, if we were to decide to make a change, that's what I'm not sure I can say.
Oh, one more question. I'm sorry to follow up with that, and that includes the cost of their gas, right? Like we don't have to pay any additional for their gas, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Just want to give an opportunity to Commissioner Jackson before I return to Commissioner Kilgo. Do you have anything to ask her at this time?
No.
Nope. All right. Follow up, Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want it to be petty that we're talking about street sweeping, but like Commissioner St. Clair said, they do an important job for our city. So I have 3 questions. Have we talked to SCA, or did we just do the bids, do our homework, and then we're choosing now?
I personally have not talked to them. Other staff at DPW did all of this research. I'm not sure specifically whether they reached out to SCA or not.
So we don't know if we reached out to them. My second question is, could we have chosen SCA? We only received 2 bids, and we're staff's recommendations that we choose the one that we've been using, correct?
Correct.
And then my third question is, if we did choose SCA and they didn't perform, because in my research, I didn't call or talk to them either. They don't look like they have tractors with brooms on the front of them. And I think a conversation needs to be had because it's a significant amount of money that we could use in the city. If we chose SCA and they did not perform adequately up to our contract standards, could we terminate the contract?
We can terminate the contract, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Mr. Manager, you have something to add?
Yeah, just kind of some clarity on our bidding process. So when we go out to bid for something and the bids are received in, the way we do the due diligence through the bid tab, but then through checking their references. And we check the references that the companies provide to us, and then make our recommendation through our staff experience on what we think the best option is going forward. It's generally not something where you're going to go back to one of the companies that bid to ask for additional information unless there's something that's very specifically odd about it. And since we were following up with the references that they gave us, that's the way that we can determine their performance if that's who they're telling us to talk to. And so then staff takes all the experience that they've had to then make the decision and recommendation moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. So this is going to be coming out of the sanitation fund. Is there, and you said there may be adjustments to the budget is necessary, there are sufficient reserves in that fund to cover this? And then is the revenue streams for the sanitation fund sufficient to cover it on an ongoing basis?
The sanitation department exists within the general fund. So there are no reserves specifically identified for sanitation. We have not been through the budget process completely yet, so we're not sure, frankly, whether the revenues will cover the expenses in this particular case. There's lots of expenses the sanitation department has, including a Republic contract as well. If you are asking me, do I think the sanitation fee will go up this year if we hire Tri-S versus SCA? I think the answer to that is it's likely. I don't know to what extent.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a few contributing factors to that as well. It wouldn't necessarily just be
Absolutely.
this. I mean, costs are going up across the board. At the same time, the sanitation millage rate has been declining. That's down to
And
what,
as I said, this isn't the only contributing factor, right? As recycling across the city goes up, so does our bill for that. So, well, things that sanitation fee and sanitation property tax pay for.
so in the event of a sanitation fee increase, it could not necessarily be pointed solely or put solely on to this contract as the reason for that. But if we were able to find cost savings with this, it could help limit that fee adjustment. Do you know how long we've contracted with the current vendor?
Over 12 years is what I understand, or at least 12 years.
Yeah, I think we've been around for a long. I think it's quite possibly decades that we've been using this vendor, and it's an important service. It's a very beneficial service that we provide, and I do hear from residents who appreciate that we do this, and I've heard from newcomers to our community who are like surprised that we do street sweeping and are very pleased that it's done. So I think it's very important that we continue to do this. I do understand, Commissioner Kilgo's, concerns or reservations about the heightened cost for this. If we can realize cost savings, important that we do, as to the greatest extent as possible, since we are stewards of public resources. But at the same time, you get the quality of service that you pay for. So I'm a little torn on this. I certainly would like to see, cost savings, but I also don't want to see a dramatic drop in the quality of service that our community has become accustomed to expect. So I'm inclined to defer to staff's recommendation on this and professional experience and expertise on the matter. Because the concern is if we say, hey, let's roll the dice and go with the lowest bidder in this case, that if they don't perform, then we then have to terminate the contract, then have to put out another bid. Then it's no guarantee that our current vendor, Tri-S, is going to bid at the same rate. They might charge an even higher premium because of it being an unusual bid or having to rebid it, or they've already started adjusting their service schedule without us, and now trying to incorporate us back into us. There could be even higher costs there. So some trade-offs to consider. So those are just my stream of consciousness thoughts at this moment. We'll return to Commissioner St. Clair.
Thank you. I think in this case, the SCA is not an unknown entity. I think sometimes we get somebody that comes that we've never heard of and they're not familiar, and it might make sense to take a chance on a startup that can undercut a more seasoned entity because maybe their costs are less and maybe they're willing to run a smaller margin to build out their model. It does not appear that that is the case with this. And it also is clear that they have not provided good service to our neighboring communities. That's established. I think as somebody who has been in the business of hiring staff for 20 plus years, I do a lot of reference checks, and I do them after I've interviewed, because I want to get a different perspective on a candidate. And there have been lots of times over the years that I got a really different picture of a candidate from a reference check than I did from the actual candidate, but sometimes I got that same response from all three references, and that tells me something that I wasn't aware of, that maybe that individual is a really good actor and they're an excellent interviewer, but maybe they were not a good employee. And I've made hiring decisions based on what references have told me. And I think it's really important in this case, one, to trust our staff. Like, I'm not an expert on any of this. I know nothing other than it's really important to keep garbage and leaves out of the sewer system, and it's even more important to keep it out of the watershed. But I also know that we have been told, and I have no reason to doubt that, this company has not performed in a satisfactory manner in neighbors to us that have the same kind of community needs that we do. So I understand that we need to be good stewards of dollars, but I'm not sure that this would be being good stewards of dollars if we're saving a penny here to pay $10 there because something gets broken because they're not doing what we need them to do. So, you know, I'm comfortable with taking staff's recommendation. We asked them to do hard work, and I appreciate the work that they put in with their recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner St. Clair. All right, any final thoughts or questions before we go to roll call? Commissioner Cochin and then Commissioner Kilgore. And then
I just want a clarification from you, Director Vanderheide. So in the packet, it says that there's an additional $78,000 that'll be required this fiscal year. I'm assuming that's based on previous fiscal year's contract with Tri-City, correct?
Yeah, that's the difference in this fiscal year between what was budgeted, which was based on the last contract, and what the new bid would be if we went with Trias.
Okay, and I'm hoping this question doesn't reveal your sources, but when SCA was partnering or contracted with these other entities, did they also come in really low like this to try to entice the municipality to switch to them?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what their motives were per se, but yes, the main reason that those other municipalities went with SCA was due to their price.
Okay, and the concerns have been recent and not years ago.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Commissioner Kilgore.
Yeah, I just had a quick question for the manager. Is it, if we had two bids, in this case we have two bids, is it against our rules? Now, once we have the bids, the bidding is closed and we open the bids and look at them, is it against our rules to call and talk to the company specifically? I'm just
yeah,
wondering, because
yeah.
if we choose Tri-City, great. We've been using them, so we kind of know that they're going to perform, and I want them to perform.
Yep.
But if we could save money, which I'm hearing is general fund money ultimately, and if we could save that money, isn't a phone call worth us doing a little bit more investigation to save the city money that we could use in other areas?
So the general practice would be that you use the information that's provided in the packet, in the bid packet that you have. And if you start taking steps that are outside of the bid process, you open yourself up to criticism which this commission has received, the city has received in the past for not following the bid policies. And so we ask for specific information in the bids, and we have to make our decisions based on what's in the bids. This does, and to, the other part of your question, this is general fund money. However, we have the sanitation fee and tax that residents pay that covers this, as well as trash services and other things that the director was talking about. So it could impact the general fund services a little bit, but there are dedicated funds that come into it. It's not an enterprise fund like some of our other funds, but there are revenues that come in for this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Commissioner Kyogo. All right. We're going to go to roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Keener,
Yes.
should we get another second because it was Commissioner German?
Oh, because Commissioner German
Yeah.
departed before we voted.
Right.
Who would like to replace Commissioner German as the supporter of that motion?
Or
All right. Well, you made the
Yeah, you
motion.
made the motion.
We'll go with. So we have the motion by Vice Mayor Keener, supported by Commissioner St. Clair.
Thank you. Commissioner Jackson,
yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
I'm gonna need a second.
I'm sorry.
Said she needed a second.
I'm gonna say yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo.
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Final item from our consent agenda. Oh, I do wish to acknowledge that item H had already been removed from the consent agenda when we approved it and adopted it. And so that's item H, invoice for maintenance of voting equipment that was removed per staff request. So I wanted to acknowledge that that was not included in the consent agenda that we had adopted. I expect that we'll be returning to it at some point for consideration. All right, MDNR Natural Resources Trust Fund Grant Application Resolution. Commissioner Cochin.
Yes, I move to approve the resolution of support as presented and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Cochin, supported by Commissioner Kilgo.
This is me. So this is the resolution for the public hearing that we had earlier in the night, just noting to the state that we're moving forward with the process.
Commissioner Cochin.
And in case you're just toting it, we're talking about seeking to purchase the option in the Sappy site PUD to acquire 10 lakefront parcels on Lakeshore Drive to increase it to be a green space that would be maintained by HOA fees and the developer on site there and not from the city. So I just wanted to pull it because I think that I wanted people to see if it was going to go through. I don't have any additional questions at this time. Yeah, I don't have any additional questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Commissioner Kilgo, anything to ask or add on
No,
this
sir.
item?
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner St. Clair.
Thank you. Just to clarify, we are not with this resolution voting to purchases. We are voting to submit this application to apply for grant dollars at this time.
Yes. Yes.
Just
Any
so everyone knows.
the act to actually purchase it would have to come
In the
back to the
future.
commission in the future for us to
Thank you.
formally adopt or approve. All right, unless there's anything else, roll call, please.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keener.
Yeah.
Motion passes.
All right, that concludes our consent agenda. We do not have any unfinished business. We don't have any new business scheduled. Any other business? I see you pointing.
Yes.
Someone that
I was gonna have Deputy Manager Mike Sell give an update on the summer transit conversation.
Good evening.
Hello.
Welcome.
Sorry for the noise. Yeah, I just wanted to come up and share with you some information, some changes since the last time we spoke about the proposal. So we have received a draft contract, and the attorney and I were just talking about it this afternoon. So we will follow up on a few items and hopefully have that in front of you in the very near future. Also wanted to let you know about some changes that we made to the stops. So the tan line, which circulates around the beach parks, I still am waiting for clarification on adding the stop at Silversides. So I will follow up with you once I have that. We did eliminate the stop at Woodlawn, which is that tiny little street that we were a little bit concerned about sight distance. For the town line that had gone from downtown to the beach, we did make some changes to that. We did add stops in the Jackson Hill neighborhood. What we decided to do is use some existing Matt's bus stops that are right near Amont Park, which kind of helps us out with the ADA part of it too. We still have 2 stops on Western, one in the 3rd, 4th area, one in the 6th Street area. Don't have the stops at Franklin and Michigan anymore.
No.
Well, we talked about eliminating some so that we could add them to the east.
I'll reserve my comments till you're done.
Great. We also, I feel like there had been maybe 3 stops in Lakeside, and so now we're down to 2. Again, using an existing stop at Estes. And then using the stop at Grand Trunk like we had before, which will be better now that the parking lot is being improved. We also have a stop at Lakeshore and Sharon, which is essentially by Frosty Cove, but we found a way to do that. That was also going to be helpful with the ADA needs. And then the last stop would be Beach at Indiana. So the cost remains the same with these changes. I also checked in with them on sponsorships. It isn't likely we will be able to do that because of federal guidelines, but they're going to look into that further for me. And then I also asked them about adding a route that goes down Laketon Avenue, and they said that they just don't have the resources to be able to do that this year. So we can certainly talk about it if we think we might want to do it next year, but they will definitely need more time to plan for that.
Thank you, Deputy Manager. We appreciate those updates, and I appreciate you looking into sponsorship opportunities to help us defray those costs and consideration of the potential Laketon route. With regard to Franklin, Michigan, we had our first of the year NIMS Neighbor Association meeting last night, and I just shared with our NIMS neighbors that this was in the proposal and this is what we were expecting, because NIMS was left out last year. And so it was exciting that NIMS was going to be included this year. NIMS is a shoreline community, or shoreline neighborhood, and so it's concerning to me that we'd be leaving NIMS out again.
We're actually not, and I just realized the conversation that we had about the stops that didn't make it into the draft contract. What we decided to do is use some existing stops that are at Laketon and Henry. And part of the reason that we wanted to eliminate the stop at Franklin and Michigan is the construction that's going to be happening. It was kind of interesting. We were talking about this route, and so many places we got to, it was like, oh, well, we're going to have this construction thing going on. Oh, well, now we're going to have this other thing, construction going on over there. So there was a fair amount of conversation about how do we make this route still efficient. So that was our way of trying to still include NIMS, but stay out of the construction zones.
Okay. thank you for consideration.
Sorry.
And that understanding. I mean, I can
course.
understand maybe not an ideal spot, and well, considerable construction's underway right there. I really would like, in the future, maybe next year, to have something at or close proximity to Hartshorn Park and Marina. I think it's important that we have a stop there. My original vision for the Shoreline Shuttle Service was to connect our neighborhoods and business districts and parks, so that our community can get around and also welcome guests to our community. So I'm happy that we at least have the stop at Henry and Laketon, but I really would like to include Hartshorn and the NIMS neighborhood in the future.
That would be our preference too. It was really just construction that was gonna be the problem this year.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Thank you. Once the rest of the details come in from the contract with them, can you provide the commission with a map so that we can kind of see start to finish? Because it sounds like to me like when they leave Western or when they leave downtown, they'll come around Seaway to Laketon instead of cutting through the neighborhood there. That's what it sounds like. to
That's
me.
likely, yes.
So I
Yeah.
just, I think a map will help. And then
Totally agree.
also, once we finalize it, then I know that we have a great marketing department here with the city, because one of our parts of our conversation from before was to try to get more participation this year so that it kind of pays off the per rider. If we can get a lot more riders, that per rider number will go down, and so on and so forth. So thank you for your work on this, and we can, this isn't specifically about the overall transportation. We can have another conversation about that at a later time, but thank you for your work on this.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Commissioner Jackson.
Are you able to tell me what the closest stop to Muskegon High School and the middle school is?
Probably something downtown, honestly. We're starting at the Herman Ivory Terminal. We really aren't getting deep into the Nelson neighborhood.
Okay, because I was just thinking if we're not going to be able to add anything onto Laketon, I mean, obviously besides the Laketon and Henry stop, as far as marketing goes, and we're trying to add more people so we lower our costs that way, the best way we can market it would be through the youth and getting them, I mean, 12 or higher with, right? That's the age.
Good memory.
I feel like that would be the best way to go about. I know we're asking a lot, but maybe could we see if there's a way to add a stop in the Nelson neighborhood, close to the high school or Charles Hackley?
We can certainly look into it. At some point, we're gonna have to finalize it.
That's less.
And
Nothing else from you guys.
The concern would be the amount of time that adds to
Yeah.
the route. I don't know that we could get over there.
Just
Yeah,
because
maybe.
there's nothing else on, I mean, since they say that it's hard to be on Laketon, but if we're doing Laketon and Henry, I mean, that's at least, like, then you can hit, like, Marshfield, they can cross over.
Yeah,
Down
maybe
to
I
the
wasn't
other
clear.
side.
It's not that it's hard to be on Laketon. They just don't have the resources to
Well,
add
yeah,
another
resources.
route.
Yeah, right.
Right, and so we had decided that we were gonna go on the lake shore, so if we are gonna deviate from that, we might wanna rethink the whole route.
To piggyback on the train of thought, though, if I may, where's the stop before you get to Henry and Laketon? What's that last stop downtown?
Probably Western and Sixth.
Okay. I'm just wondering if that were to come up to Laketon and perhaps catch before it goes down to Henry and Laketon. I'm just wondering maybe if that's a
Right, we can talk about that.
efficient way to do it. I don't know. I'm just
Right.
throwing that out there. If that might be an opportunity, just come up to Laketon and catch the folks, even if it's not right at the middle school, but closer to it. Pick them up before they go further west on Laketon. Just a thought.
Yep.
All right, Commissioner St. Clair. I'm sorry, Commissioner Jackson. Are you done? Do you have anything else?
Yeah,
to
I'm just
ask?
trying to think of the most efficient
Yep.
way, because obviously we want to focus on the lake shore, but also having it be accessible to
I say so many times that I hate using the term inner city, but the folks who are not directly on the lake shore. Because
Understood.
transportation, I mean, when we were doing the road diet with Jackson Hill and the causeway and everything, people were talking about how hard it is to cross that roadway. So using the ability to take the transit, like that's something that we need to focus on too.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah.
Commissioner St. Clair.
I was just gonna point out the fact that this only runs when school is out of season, so having it in proximity to the high school or the middle school may or may not make sense. I don't know how many kids are kicking it around there in June or July. There might be more traffic than I'm thinking of, but there might be someplace else.
Like summer, I mean, people do a
Yeah,
lot
there,
of
I know
stuff
there's
with
some stuff,
sports having to do.
but
summer.
it's not. I don't know if it's. I don't know how many kids are around there. I think that's worth thinking about, just because there's someplace else in the summer often.
Thank you, Commissioner St. Clair. Commissioner Cochin, and then Commissioner. Well, go to Commissioner Kilgo. Commissioner Cochin.
Yes, thank you. If we're spitballing right now, one of the things that comes to my mind about where we could potentially be picking people up, where we could increase ridership, would be right over there by the Boys and Girls Club area, which has a very nice parking lot where we could, potentially pick people up. So that's just a thought that I had in my mind. I appreciate Mr. Mayor's input about like the businesses because we want to increase that ridership so we can continue this. But I do want to echo Commissioner Jackson's sentiment that the essence behind this is to connect people who traditionally have been disconnected to our lake shore, and through purposeful planning, I will say, so I think that that's something definitely to, consider, and I appreciate you, getting the stop over there by Amont Park, but I just wanted to echo those sentiments. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I think the Western Avenue and 6th Street stop probably isn't terribly far from the Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin.
Closest one for sure.
Commissioner Kilgo.
I
I,
just
really
have-
like the Amont Park stop, by the way. Commissioner Kilgo.
I just have a question. When is are we calling it the town line?
Yes.
Sweet. What is the suggested hours of operation for the days and hours of operation for the town line?
I don't have that in front of me. I'm sure I could find it. I feel like it's about 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., something like that, on Friday and Saturday, and then 11 to 6
On
on Sunday.
I think that's
what I
correct.
recall, but my memory's not always great.
So we are just looking at weekend. So this is only a Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of route.
Right.
And our normal MAT system doesn't run on Saturday and Sunday, only Monday through Friday.
Right.
So on Friday, I could live in lots of different places in town because all the buses go to the hub downtown here. And then just like any other regular transfer, I could transfer and wait for the town line to come and go down to the beach. Unfortunately, that would only work on Friday and not Saturday and Sunday. So it's still a larger conversation about revamping our transportation system. But there are opportunities. Just like Wednesday's our free day at the beach, parking wise, still correct? Okay. Maybe Friday can be our connection day where people can take the regular MATS bus downtown and transfer to the town line. If it's running, well, it's going to run for longer than the MATS bus runs because the regular bus stops at 5:50 p.m. And depending on where you have to go on a route, that's probably like 5 p.m. So, but it's opportunity. So I do know that there's definitely a larger conversation about transportation, and this route is not going to be perfect for everyone everywhere. It don't touch my ward. So, I mean, I'm sure all the people in Ward 1 are like, what about us? Hey, come down. Well, you can't come down Apple Avenue this year, can you?
That would be a terrible idea.
But, like Sheldon Park, Steele, Marquette, parts of Marquette down, depending. But it's not going to be perfect. But step one, let's see if we can increase ridership. maybe somebody can get a ride to the closest stop. And we really push for advertising and get ridership up this year. And maybe over the course of this year, we can find a way to fund mats to have other routes that are available and stuff. Because I don't know that mats doesn't have the infrastructure to do it. They don't have the money to run a bus down Laketon, or they don't have money to run an extra route down Laketon and stuff like that. So we have to find ways to save money in other places or get a transit authority together with our neighbors so we can fund and have transportation, because people use it for more than just the beach. I know this is a beach conversation, but there's the hospital, there's schools, there's doctors' offices, there's jobs and work and everything else. So hopefully we can move the needle on that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. All right, any final thoughts? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For providing those updates and insights.
You're welcome.
And all your work on this initiative. All right. Is there anything else under any other business, commissioners, you'd like to raise? Commissioner Kilgo.
Yes. I think I'm going to have a conversation, and I will bring it up at our next meeting. I think that's best. I'll have a conversation about what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Anything else, commissioners? Commissioner St. Clair.
Thank you. I just wanted to recognize the Muskegon High School girls basketball team as our Division I state champions for the first time ever. Hope that we will bring them in the way we did the boys football team when they won the state championship.
Yeah, I already talked to city manager about
Perfect.
arranging that at a future commission meeting.
But I think it's particularly appropriate that that happened during Women's History Month. So I love the girls making history. Go Big Reds.
And not just the first time for Muskegon High School, but the first time of any high school in Muskegon County.
Yes.
We've got a Division I state champion. So made a congrats to the Lady Reds and not only the players, but the staff and coaches and everyone involved with that program. And parents, yes. Dedicated support folks. And I believe they're having a celebration this Sunday at Muskegon High School, starting at 3 p.m. Double check that, but I think that's the case. So if y'all want to join and celebrate. All right. Anything else, commissioners, for any other business? No? All right. We're going to go to public comment. Do you have any forms? No. I don't have any forms. Anyone in the audience wishes to give public comment at this time?
Oh, one form.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Pat Jones, and I really want to say something because I was here last night and got stranded. But it was worth me to come back tonight because I want to let you know how my story ended. I'm again with KMG Prestige, who owns Jackson Hill Village, the Breckenridge, K whatever they come in here and they build all these new apartment complexes, and just as tonight you were approving these tax abatements and different things, for these companies, make sure you follow up on them. Muskegon is a lovely community, but these Pakistanis have come in here and bought the community up, raised the prices, and how long will we be a Beach Shore community? They don't give a damn about nothing but green, okay, and that be money. The tax abatements, they got a tax abatement from me. They told me the last time I come down here, you address the council again, we're going to throw your ass out. So I addressed the council again. I got threw out, but it's okay because no one will take my First Amendment right. And if you can't do anything about Big Brother, this is the only way me as the public have any way to reach out and ask for help. And if no one will help us, what are we supposed to do if we're threatened by the people you let in to build these complexes, to come back to you when they don't work, when the windows are boarded up, when the sinks are stopped up? If we can't come back to this board, where can we go, without being threatened that, again, we're going to be thrown out? So I did, for Black History Month and Martin Luther King Day, I had all my furniture set out in the front yard in a blizzard. But just for the day, I'm okay with it. Because I refuse to allow anyone to tell me, I pay them $1,000 a month. I pay them what they ask for. Is that senior living? I don't think so. Because how many seniors have $1,000 to give up for an apartment a month? I pay 100% more than my neighbor next door. Tell me how that works. But again, I came in under a different regimen, KMG. They got a whole different ball game going. But if I can't come down here and make my needs known, and there's no follow-up from this board to make them aware that our citizens can always come and talk to their commissioners, then you're dropping the ball game. You're dropping the ball, and there won't be a ball game. See, it won't be a Lakeshore. They don't give a damn about any of that. All they care about is what they want, money. So when we bring these people in, let's hold them accountable, because Mr.'s going to hold you accountable. And I just wanted to make sure I went on record. So when Mr. comes and asks you, where that's all they care about, those tax abatements and our tax credit. So when Mr. comes to the city, I went on record, and at least you have knowledge of that they're taking this. Please do something. Please do something. It's so great to see the women and people asking questions again. I don't mind getting stranded down here.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
For a lit meeting.
Appreciate you joining us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me.
Next up, we have John R. Allen joining us from the Nelson neighborhood. Good evening. You have 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. I was debating on even really bringing it up, but it's worth noting a very, very troubling inconsistency in how our city continually defines integrity and especially compliance. It seems to get wishy-washy the more every week goes on. Recently, a general citizen requested a simple 96-hour administrative consideration for a seasonal deadline. That was flatly denied from the top, as I was told. The justification given by staff was that granting such a minor accommodation would be a bad look. If looks and integrity are now the primary metrics for city administration, we should reconcile that 96-hour denial with the following documented realities on city-owned property. The selective enforcement gap. The city's current posture towards its residents is one of zero tolerance, almost always. Yet its posture towards certain developers, especially at the end of Western Avenue, is one of intrepid flexibility. Arbitrary rigidity, denying a 96-hour window for a resident's logistical need while granting a 6-month extension for a developer who was already who knows how far behind on those obligations, is the definition of selective enforcement, and that list is much longer than this. Pretextual integrity. Claiming a bad look for a minor resident accommodation is a pretext when the city simultaneously allows the same developer to remain in 692-day delinquency of the sand and muck that was abandoned at Hartshorn Park. The retaliatory risk. When the city is so ironclad for its critics, I guess that would be me, but flexible for its preferred partners, it moves from fair governance into the dangerous territory of First Amendment retaliation. The environmental and contractual look. Ignoring state orders. On May 6, 2024, the Department of Eagle explicitly ordered the developer to remove at once unpermitted structures misrepresented as vessels. The city was officially notified but allowed these structures to remain, creating visible plumes of PFAS foam on public waters the entire year prior to any permit approval. This is also a breach of the CDUA, the Cooperative Development and Use Agreement, which also explicitly states that all improvements and work be done contemporaneously. Again, compliance, deadlines, words that I have to follow, other people seem to have to follow, but no one else does. The safety look. This weekend, actually, I saw a post of the same forklift that has been an issue where it says no riders. And they have posted a picture of them riding on it on city property. I've also been informed that no one has their forklift certification, as we were told. So, again, as far as rules applying to who and where, it only seems to apply to us as the citizens. And I do hope that we take a very, very inward look at ourselves in the way that we have approached compliance and integrity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Appreciate you joining us this evening. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to give public comment at this time? We're going to... If you want to share something with us, please state your name and your neighborhood you're joining us from, if you don't mind.
Yes, my name is Martin Calkins. I'm president of Watchesco Boating Muskegon here in Muskegon, Michigan. We take kids out on the lake and teach them how to kayak. And basically, we've been pouring our own time, money, and resources into this for the last 5 years. We are at a point right now where we just finally got our 305C 503C3 or C1. I'm not sure exactly. I'm sorry.
501(c)(3).
We're a nonprofit organization, and as of right now, we are just super blessed and we're super thankful to be to this point right now. As of right now, we're asking to be recognized by the city of Muskegon, and so we can move further with our nonprofit and collecting donations. Because as of now, like I said, we've been pouring our own time, money, and resources into this program for the last 5 years. And we have about 6,500 just in training this year. So with that being said, this would help out just being accepted and basically the help from you guys move that forward. So basically, we just appreciate it, and as of right now, we've been doing weekly cleanups. This week we'll be at Pure Marquette Beach. We're thankful for that. We're thankful for all the teammates that come out and help out. In the prior weeks has been Nelson neighborhood we did a cleanup there. We did 2 cleanups at Smith Ryerson, and then last week we did one at the park. It was in the Nelson neighborhood. Anyways, with that being said, we got about 1,000 pounds of trash picked up on the city of Muskegon already this year. So with that being said, I would just appreciate you guys recognizing us as a nonprofit and investing in our inner city youth. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Calkins. Appreciate you joining us this evening.
Mr. Mayor, point of information. Can I ask, so tonight, on our, agenda, they were approved for a charitable gaming license. Do you all have a date set for an event coming up here?
Yes, yeah, would you please?
All right, yeah. If you could state your name, this is going to be your public comment. If you could share information about how you plan on using, because we already approved the charity license
you
earlier,
approved it.
or charity gambling license. If you care to update us now
my comment.
under public comment on
I
what you
can
do with that.
use my comment to help answer that question, but normally I wouldn't speak. I actually wanted to get up here and talk, so if you want me to do my comment and then address that at the end. The last 12 to 18 months I've been working with Watchesco Boating Muskegon. We're really grassroots, so we're figuring all this stuff out. We applied for the gaming license because we do plan on working with the Northway Lane poker nights. So that was what this was for. We're using that funding to really work on all of our initiatives. And we've been writing grants, like we've been doing all these things and figuring it out because this program's been going on for 8 years. And this is the first time that they're applying funds instead of out of their own pockets. We're taking this group of people that's going to go out there and they're just going to do it anyway. They've been doing it anyway. And now we are applying all of this political and community organizational efforts and working on that. And with that, I wanted to apply this funny sanitation thing that just happened to be at the same night that we came in. It's really important, actually. I'm a very curious person. I ask a lot of questions. So on the cleanups that we've been doing, including street cleanups and trash, we do it every single week. It's an opportunity for people to come join us, do community service, and you guys are welcome to come out at any point, ask questions about why it's important. And we worked with the Annis Water Institute. I learned a lot when we went there. So about how this stuff actually impacts the water, and don't ask too many questions if you go there, you guys. You might not want to know. They say don't go in the water after it rained. It's a whole thing. There's all this stuff. So you said you did some research on what the lower bid company was all about. I hope you did as much research on how important it is if we go 6 months to a year without having proper sanitation removal, and how those 3-4 times a year that the street is swept, in addition to important community cleanups will help with that, because we have some areas that just came off the contamination list. So there's a lot that goes into it, so I'm kind of glad that I don't think you guys officially voted on that.
We did, it passed.
Thank you.
Could you please state your name? I don't know if we caught that.
Jennifer Evans from District 4, I think.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Appreciate you joining us this evening. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to give public comment at this time? All right, we're going to go to the phones. I think so, yeah. That number is 231-724-6721. This is an opportunity for you to give input directly to the City Commission. Not Q&A or dialogue. We can arrange that at a separate occasion if that's your interest. When you call in, please turn down any audio in the background, state your name, and if you're a City of Muskegon resident, which neighborhood you're calling from. Good evening, you're with the City of Muskegon City Commission.
Yeah, hi, it's Ann Vandermolen from Roosevelt Park.
Good evening, you have 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank any of the Muskegon police that helped with my student about 25 years ago. Unfortunately, there are many victims who are raped as children, boys or girls. Secondly, it's a crime to threaten to take someone's money, even if your name is on their account. It's also a crime to say that the bank froze the account because someone isn't taking money out of someone's account. I've already written 1 police report on this person. Norton Shore should be investigating this. Last time, I talked about how Miami Vice had many on bad cops. There are 4 women on the Muskegon City Commission. If they feel that there is any police officer not doing their job or possibly doing something illegal, I believe they could take a vote to have that officer fired. I believe they could also start an internal affairs investigation on any officer in the county if they feel the officer is doing something corrupt. A man named Brad told me about something men in this community possibly want to do. If that's true, they are sick criminals. I'm not accusing Tracy Lorenz of this, but I believe 6 people in his cult have tried to dig up dirt on me ever since I wrote that police report in the city of Muskegon 12 years ago. I wrote a stupid text 4 years ago to someone about my mom having Alzheimer's because I wanted this person to stop bullying my mom about something. If my mom truly had it, the doctors would have found it by now. My mom is doing great and she writes her own bills every month, which means she is still mentally sound to take care of her own finances. I believe there are certain medical people doing illegal things in this community. If so, they should be in jail. You cannot say someone has Alzheimer's unless they truly do. And I believe, I'm not suicidal. I've never tried to commit suicide, and I don't plan on it. Depression does take a toll on your mind, but since I stopped talking to a major bully in my life, my mind has gotten much stronger in the last few years. It would be a crime for any doctor to try to institutionalize me like a friend of mine says the people I called CPS on want to do to me. I'm always going to stick up for children. And I experienced what I experienced with my student many years ago, and I'm always going to stick up for children. Child molestation and rape has got to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vandermolen. I didn't hear anyone else trying to call in during the... Oh, we got someone?
There was somebody calling.
Oh, there was, okay. We'll give you a few more moments then. All right. So now it's not like they're going to call us back. Maybe they're opting to email us instead. All right. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Support.
Motion by Vice Mayor Keener, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you. Take care and be well.